Chevy Silverado. It's got the power you want and the capability you need to do the job, so you can get to the important work. Find new moments, find new roads. Get a $500 cash allowance on all 2022 Silverado pickups with a 2.7-liter turbo engine. Plus, unlock your code to claim $500 Chevy CyberCash. Visit ChevyCyberCash.com today.
Hey, welcome back to High School Game Day here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Brought to you, as always, by the Bank of Billings. Bank of Billings with 2 locations, one in Billings and one in Marionville, to better serve your banking needs. Established in 1889, the Bank of Billings is the oldest bank in Christian County. Also presented by LiUNA Laborers Local 663, Building, Missouri. And as always, LiUNA Laborers remind us, hey, drive safely in those work zones. Those folks want to go home as well. Great Southern Bank with more than 100 locations in 6 states. Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters. Member FDIC. And our quarterback club host, Bambino's Italian Cafe at East Battlefield and Lone Pine. Join us every Monday, 11:30 to 12, for our quarterback club luncheons. We go now to a little bit north of where our studio sits here in Bolivar, Missouri, to Sherwood High School, home of the Lady Marksman and head softball coach Aaron Dahl for our Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athlete of the Week segment. Coach Dahl, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Coach, 5-2 on the season, number 2 ranked team in Class 2 in the state. Tell us a little bit about your ball club, maybe what you had to replace coming into this year from graduation from last year, kind of what the expectations were coming into the 2023 fall season.
Okay. We lost our catcher, a senior catcher last year, and I believe a second baseman. So we had to refill those spots as well. We have a young sophomore catching this year, and she's doing a great job, I think. And our second baseman we filled with a senior who was kind of our utility player last year. So she stepped into the role and is doing a great job.
Hey, Coach, with Sherwood, being north of here, tell us a little bit about your conference. Or are you in a conference in softball? If so, kind of handicap that. Talk about your conference members.
So actually this year we have no conference. All the teams that were in our conference have moved to the spring. So we're kind of playing, higher schools, bigger schools, just kind of making up our own kind of schedule this year.
I was in attendance at the Morrisville softball tournament. Got to see a little bit of you guys versus Cassville. And you mentioned playing bigger schools. You've got Cassville Republic, you got Clinton coming, or you got Clinton on your schedule. Pleasant Hill, North Platte, Nevada is on your schedule. Talk about just the challenges of making up a schedule when you don't have a conference.
It's difficult. This is my first year here, so actually our AD kind of made our schedule, but playing up to the bigger schools, I actually like it because it challenges our girls and it pushes us further down the road for state.
So you mentioned your first year. Tell us a little bit about your background. Where'd you go to high school, college, and how'd you end up at Sherwood?
I went to school at Raymore Peculiar High School. I played softball there my junior and senior year. Softball was still in the spring then with no state tournament, so I played volleyball and competitive ball in the summer. So, and then I went to Missouri Southern to play softball there. I was a 4-year starter. I was just recently inducted into the Hall of Fame there last October as a shortstop leadoff batter. My husband's in the Coast Guard, so we've moved all around. Last 18 years, we've been hopping from place to place. So haven't got a lot of coaching in there. I did coach. I was the assistant coach at Harrisonville High School back in the 2000s. And then I went to Coffeyville Community College. I was the assistant coach there. And then my husband kind of moved me away, and it was kind of hard. I did a lot of middle school sports and stuff like that. But so now we're home. My husband's retired, and I'm ready to grow some roots, and Sherwood was the place I chose. So,
yeah. And off to a good start, 5-2 on the season, and Class 2, number 2 ranked team in the state. And just being a Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athlete of the Week segment. You got a young lady sitting beside you, senior Kennedy Diggs. Tell us a little bit about Kennedy.
Oh, Kennedy is an amazing athlete. I'm very, very pleased to have her on our team. She's fierce. She's just an amazing kid all around.
And the nomination came in. She recently picked up her 1,000th career strikeout. Now she's up to 1,011, adding that game a little bit. But Kennedy, first off, on behalf of Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks and the Missouri State Highway Patrol, congratulations for being an Athlete of the Week.
Thank you so much.
And Kennedy, tell us just a little bit about your background. How long have you been pitching? At the varsity level, what got you into softball?
I've been playing softball all my life, really. My parents are really big in softball. My mom played at Ray Peck with Aaron, so they kind of have the background there. And my parents are really sports orientated, and so we started young, and then I started pitching around 12. And it kind of just sprouted from there. And then I've been doing competitive with a club called Top Gun for the past 4 years. And I just committed last year around this time to the University of Kansas, where I will continue my education and softball career.
Well, outstanding. What led to that decision to attend KU?
They asked me to come to a visit. It was my first visit being eligible at your age. And it was just kind of, I just knew then and there, it's always been my dream school. We've been Jayhawk fans our entire life. Not Mizzou, definitely not Mizzou. And so it was just like when you're given that opportunity, I just knew right there that was it.
Well, outstanding. Well, going back to career strikeout number 1,000, were you aware that was coming up?
No, my parents don't like to inform me. They just want me to play how I can. They know I can, and then just tell me after.
Celebrate after.
Well, very nice. Again, Kennedy, we're visiting with Kennedy Diggs, our Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athlete of the Week from Sherwood Lady Marksman Softball. And Kennedy, tell us a little bit about, what do you do to kind of get prepared for a game? Let's say you're playing tonight, which you actually are playing tonight. Well, what are you doing during the day to kind of get prepared physically and mentally for that contest?
I really think of last year. So obviously there's seniors who graduate, but I try to remember the game that happened then. And I make sure I stay hydrated because I have to keep myself healthy for my team and for myself because it's the safest thing. And really just like keeping a good memory when playing softball because you have to remember who you saw, when you saw them, where you're going to throw them.
Do you have, and I don't need to know what it is, so don't give away any secrets, but do you have that one pitch in your arsenal that if you need a ground ball or you need a strikeout, you can go to?
Yes, definitely.
Are there teams that you enjoy playing against? Maybe someone else on the other team, maybe you play with them or against them over, during the summer, or maybe it's just a rivalry game. What games do you really kind of get emotionally excited about?
Yeah, we really like playing Clinton and Harrisonville just because they're the schools very close to us that are kind of like competitive. So we know a lot of girls and stuff like that. And then we will be seeing Gray Peck, possibly playing Gray Peck in the UCM tournament. And I have quite a few girls that play on my competitive team, Top Gun. So it's really fun to see them and be able to interact with them, not only in the summer, but also during the fall season.
Now you mentioned you've decided or made the decision to attend Kansas. Any particular area of study that you're looking for?
Yes, I want to do journalism and sports broadcasting.
All right, so you might be sitting on the other side of the mic.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Very good. Well, hey, if you need an intern, or an internship, hey, give us a call here at Missouri Sports Network. This is something that we've been very fortunate. We've done just over 900 shows already, interviews with college and high school kids and coaches, and it's something that we really enjoy. And just by how you're carrying yourself, I can see where you're going to be very successful.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
You bet. Well, Coach has my email if you need anything. But let's get a win against Nevada tonight at home first before you think about that.
Yes, that's the first goal to accomplish.
Outstanding. Kennedy, did you have any personal goals or team goals coming into this season?
Coming into the season, really, with losing some viable seniors and then obviously getting a new coach, it's kind of just like meshing together. We've had 2 very successful seasons, so we just want to do the best we can with that season. We don't really want to be looking into the past. We just want to like try and get better with each game and really just work together as a team.
Outstanding. Well, Kennedy, once again, on behalf of Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, congratulations for being a Week 3 Athlete of the Week, and best of luck as you go forward. And hopefully we'll get to visit with you and maybe some of your team again here as you go forward. Maybe get a Team of the Week involved. But Kennedy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coach, real quick before we let you go, your Class 2 District 8, which is yourself, Carrollton, Fayette, Lafayette County, Lexington, St. Pius X, and Summit. Do you get to see many of those teams during the season?
I haven't seen many at all, no. So it's kind of blind. I'm kind of blind going in without being around here but I do try to find some videos and stuff online and go from there to prepare ourselves.
Where has the district made a decision on where that will be played? Who will host it, or is it going to be the 1 seed?
It'll be at Lafayette County.
Lafayette County, and how close is that? I mean, just
geographically.
It's
an hour and a half from here.
It's like hour 20,
hour 20. Yeah.
Oh, very good. Well, Coach Dahl, thank you so much for setting this up. And I apologize for the trouble we had at the beginning. I had your email. I had one extra dot.
Yes, it happened.
And so I apologize for that. But thanks for making this happen. And again, Kennedy, thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as always, Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. Kennedy, do you wear your seatbelt?
Yes, sir.
All the time?
Yes.
All right. Congratulations. Hey, best of luck as you go forward. Have a great day, and God bless.
Thank you. You too.
Imagine a bank that goes where you go, creating seamless solutions for every step in your financial journey, allowing you to manage your money the way you want to, with a banking relationship that makes every day extraordinary. Imagine a world full of possibilities, always within reach. Central Bank.
Hey, welcome back to Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And as always, presented by LiUNA Labor's Local 663 and our Team of the Week. And we go to Pleasant Hill High School, home of the Roosters, and head football coach Justin Hamilton. Coach Hamilton, thanks for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Coach, you're off to a great start, 5-0. Let's talk a little bit about your season start and coming into this season. Obviously, with graduation and things, who and kind of what positions did you kind of have to replace?
Coming in, we graduated 22 seniors last year, which was just a lot for us, and lost in the state semifinals. And we had to replace 10 guys on offense. We returned 1 starter on the offensive side of the ball, and that was 1 receiver. So we had to replace our entire offensive line. We had to get a new quarterback. We did have a running back that started middle linebacker that did play some running back for us last year, but he wasn't our full-time running back. And we had some spots to fill. That being said, defensively, we felt pretty good about the defensive line we were returning and our inside linebackers. And our defense, we knew coming into this year that our defense was going to have to carry us and get some stops so our offense could get rolling in some games as the season progressed.
Off to a 5-0 start. You're just a little bit over halfway through the season. Are you relatively healthy right now?
Defensively, we're pretty banged up front right now. We lost a kid on the last defensive snap against Odessa last week to a knee issue. Brody Kohler was a 2-time All-State kid for us. Probably going to be a 3rd-timer this year. He got hurt on the very last play of the game. And then we had a defensive end who week 3 against Harrisonville broke his hand in the first quarter, played the entire game with the broken hand, had surgery the following week that we hope to have back here in the next week or 2. So And we got another defensive end, Carter Hole, who's has got some bruising going on, and just they're so big and physical that we're beat up front right now. So one thing we've talked about is we got to adapt and overcome, and our kids have handled it pretty well so far.
Again, visiting with Pleasant Hill head football coach Justin Hamilton here on the LiUNA Labor's Local 663 Team of the Week focus. Coach, a little bit about yourself. How long have you been at Pleasant Hill? Where did you go to high school, college, and how'd you end up there?
I went to Odessa High School. Grew up in Odessa, Missouri, and then went to Central Methodist University and played football there for 4 years in Fayette. And out of college, got hired as a business teacher and assistant football coach at Belton High School, where I was at for 13 years. And then after 13 years there, I always wanted to be a head coach. It's kind of, you got to see the right jobs open up. And, I grew up in a school similar to the size of Pleasant Hill and played football at a school similar to the size of Pleasant Hill, and knew that's kind of a place I wanted to be. So this is my 4th year as the head football coach here at Pleasant Hill.
Well, outstanding. Now you've got a very good Oak Grove team that you're going to travel to. Tell us a little bit about Oak Grove and what you're going to have to do there in that contest.
They're physical, and Pat Richards, the head football coach there, does a good job, and he wants to ground and pound you with what they do offensively. They're big up front. They got some physical running backs who run hard, and we're going to have to stop the run because it's one of those situations this week to where all he wants is 3 yards, and he'll go for it on 4th and 1 every single time to keep our offense off the field. And offensively, we just got to get going sooner. I told our team this week that, we've asked the defense to kind of carry us throughout the year until we could get going. Now it's time for the offense's turn to help out the defense with us being so banged up on that side of the ball. And, they're 4-1, and we've talked about winning the conference title. And, we played at Odessa last week, who's a really good football team in Class 3 that I think is going to make a deep playoff run. And we were on the road last week, so we've kind of preached that we got to be road warriors if we want to win a conference title. And we got another big one this week against Oak Grove, who's only lost us to Odessa. So,
Coach, tell us a little bit about your conference. And a lot of times people across the state don't exactly know whose conference. We just had a group down in Southwest Missouri, Hollister, Reed Spring, and Springfield Catholic. They decide they're leaving the Big 8. So it's a year-to-year deal. So kind of handicap your conference a little bit.
We play in the Missouri River Valley Conference, the west side, Class 3 and Class 4 schools. It's us, Harrisonville, Odessa, Oak Grove, Warrensburg, Clinton, and Center. And, it's a gauntlet. I told our kids after we played Harrisonville week 3 to start conference play. It's been conference play since then. I told our kids, I said, it's going to be physical. It's going to be a gauntlet. And, we've seen that, we were pretty physically beat up after we beat Harrisonville in week 3. It's a physical gauntlet. Each week you're going to be playing a physical football team, and you got to match that physicality or exceed it if you want to be able to win football games. And that's what our conference is, man. And it's that way every year. And, it's so level across the top that I think I told somebody before the season started, whoever ends up winning the conference is probably going to have a conference loss underneath them just because of the way our conference is.
Your Class 4 District 5, right now you're atop that district with the 5-0 record and 45.5 points. Talk a little bit about your district and when do coaches start looking at those numbers, and trying to figure out what we got to do?
We kind of keep an eye on them all year long. In our district, this is our first year being in Class 4 since I've been here. It's so big from east to west that, we could have to travel to Jeff City possibly. And you got Osage in there, you got Marshall, Warrensburg, who we'll see in conference play, Van Horn, who's Kansas City area. Just how widespread it is. And, that's kind of one thing I've talked to our coaches about is I think it's pretty important that we get a 1 or 2 seed and get to host a majority of those games so we don't have to travel that far. And like I said, we always kind of keep an eye on it. Ultimately, it's going to play itself out. That's the nice thing. This isn't like other sports where coaches have to vote on, with seeding and things like that. The numbers take care of itself. So as long as we kind of just control what we tell our kids, control what we can moving forward, hopefully by the end of the season, we're kind of where we need to be at in terms of district seeding.
So what time are you guys getting on the bus? How far of a travel is it to Oak Grove?
We'll probably get on about 4:15. It's about a 30-minute bus ride. Not very far. I like to try to show up around 5, give our kids about 40 to 45 minutes to get dressed, get taped, whatever they need to do. And we start on the field about 5:45 every game.
Outstanding. Well, if I go to scoreboardguide.net or the MissouriSportsNetwork.com the next morning and I see that Pleasant Hill came out victorious, are you going to be able to point at one or two stats? They're going to say, hey, this is why I won the game, whether it's turnovers, penalties. Are there one or two stats you're worried about going into this game?
I think turnovers. I think if we don't turn over the ball, that we're not giving their offense who wants to drain the clock extra possessions. I think their run game we got to be able to stop. And one goal, we have a goal of the week for our defense, and that's 3 yards or less on average per rush. If we can maintain that, and then I'll be honest, I think the difference is special teams. We're really confident in our special teams. We spend a lot of time on them. And I think that has the opportunity to play a big part in this game. I think it's why we won last week, as well as our offense and defense have played. But our special teams were solid and no mistakes and forced a turnover. And, if we can play well on special teams, I think that's going to have a large impact on the game as well.
Well, outstanding. Well, Coach, I greatly appreciate you being generous here with your time, and we look forward to visiting with you. And it was nice to meet you for the first time.
You too. You as well. Thank you for what you're doing for high school football. We need more people doing stuff like this.
You bet. You bet. You're watching the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. Back to the network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Here on our LiUNA Labor's Local 663 Teams of the Week segment, we go north to Mid-Buchanan High School, home to the Dragons, and head football coach Aaron Fritz. And, Coach, hey, thanks so much for your time today.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, it's been a little while. We used to eat lunch last year a couple times up there at the pizza range for our meetings up there, but good to kind of catch up here. You guys are off to a great start, 4-1. Kind of put this season, halfway through, a little over halfway through. What's it been like to this point?
Man, I wasn't sure what to expect. Last year when we talked, I talked to you about we had 10 seniors, and all of them were pretty much out there all the time. And we played some different guys, but it was really a senior-heavy team. And we had a couple kids move schools and different things like that, and we graduated all those kids, and we only brought back 2 starters on each side of the ball. So when you have we knew we'd have smaller numbers this year, and we only have 30 kids, but 27 of them are non-seniors. We have 3 seniors, and we only have 11 kids on our team that can even drive a car. So I knew it'd be a challenge to fight kids to know exactly what we were wanting in terms of effort and intensity and physicality and stuff like that. And I say fight is in you got to teach them and they got to learn. And they did a great job this summer. We've gotten a ton better since week 1. I feel like we've improved a ton and grown up. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't sure what to expect out of this group, but I'm very proud of them because we bring back hardly any experience. But our kids play hard, they're playing fast, and they're trying to learn as much as they can every week. And we have plenty to learn, so it's a lot for them.
What at this point of the season, midway through it, what do you feel like your team's doing really well right now?
Well, we're growing up. We play a lot of sophomores, but we've gotten older in terms of the experience, so that's made a big difference for us. We're running the ball a little bit better than I was expecting to. When you replace 4 of your 5 offensive linemen, and those guys were 3-year starters, 2 or 3-year starters up front from last year, that's a big thing to replace. And our guys up front have come a long way. They're getting better, and so that's really impressed me. And then, something we started out doing to start the year is we turned the ball over quite a bit because when you have a 15-year-old quarterback, you're going to do that some, and he's gotten better too. And he really grew up last week and did some good things. So I'd like to think our running game's got better. Our turnover margin's gotten a lot better. We're like +7 this year, which is good for us. That's a really good number. And honestly, something we've been really good at too is special teams. We've been very good on special teams, and that's a big deal because we have lots of freshmen on special teams. So we're getting lots of experience, lots of guys' time, and hopefully it pays off in the long run for us.
Again, visiting with Mid-Buchanan Dragons head football coach Aaron Fritz here on High School Game Day, presented by Great Southern Bank. Great Southern Bank with more than 100 locations in 6 states. Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters. Member FDIC. Coach, Al, And obviously you're going to have bumps and bruises at this point of the season, being a little over halfway, but are you relatively healthy?
Man, something that we felt right away was probably our best linebacker. His name is Clayton Burleson. He's a sophomore, and he has some. I know there's some genetic stuff to it, but it doesn't matter. But he has a back injury, and I don't think we're going to get him back. And we had him for like 3 plays week 1, and he just started acting like something wasn't right. And we got him checked out, and there's a problem back there. So that's the only kid we don't have. All the rest of them are out there. They're healthy. They're practicing every day. We're getting after it. So in terms of like attrition, we're doing very well. But man, we've played without probably our best defensive player all year too. So that's been a challenge for us because even though he's 15, he's a pretty good linebacker for us and would make a big difference.
And now you got homecoming, and you've got a pretty good North Platte team coming in at 4-1. What do you know about North Platte?
Yeah, I mean, pretty good might be underselling them, man. They're tough. They're physical. They're big. We played them twice last year, and the first time they had every opportunity to kind of jump ahead of us and maybe win that game. And just I think our experience and just the way we've played for a long time kind of took over, and we ended up pulling away at the end. Then the second time we played in that night that everybody played in the rain, big storm night. It was soaked. It was pretty gross outside, and we just looked like the older team that second time. But man, they're all back. I mean, I don't know how many seniors they have, but I'd say a third of their team is 18 years old and they're seniors. So they're very experienced. They play hard. They're very well coached. Coach Quigley does a phenomenal job, and they just know how to win now. Last year, I think you could see they were learning how to win. They were trying to learn how to handle winning. And now they're at that next step of what are they going to do after they win? Well, they move on to the next one and try to get the next one. And they've been great all year. They've hammered people. They've won close games. They've lost a close game to a really good football team. They've already had the experience of everything this year. So we know we're going to be in for a fight. They're very good, and we're going to have to play very well if we even want to have a chance to compete.
Hey, Coach, you guys, a member of the Class 2 District 8, kind of handicap that. I know it's one of the tougher districts in Class 2 in the state. You've got East Buchanan and Trenton as well. And you guys are right there at 4-1 as well. Kind of handicap that a little bit. How many of the teams you get to see outside of obviously you play East Buchanan?
We played Lawson and Lathrop already, and they're in our conference also, and they're in our district. And I'll tell you what, Lawson's a team to keep an eye on. They're very good, and we were very fortunate enough to sneak away with that one. And East Buchanan's in our district, and we play them in 3 weeks or something like that. So we'll see them here soon. But the other teams are not in our conference. Trenton's in the GRC, South Harrison's in the GRC, and Brookfield will be in the GRC. So we don't have a lot of crossover with them or see them a lot. So it'll be interesting if we have the opportunity to play one of those teams to get film and look at it. But we just don't see those teams a lot in anything we do. So I can only speak for the conference, and our conference is really dang good. So our district's going to be very good and very competitive.
Coach, if I wake up Saturday morning and look in the paper or look at scoreboardguy.net and see that Mid Buchanan defeats North Platte, is there one or two stats you're going to be able to point to and say this is why we won?
Yeah. I don't know what stat that would be necessarily in terms of winning the line of scrimmage, but we would have won the line of scrimmage. They're a run-heavy team. We're a run-heavy team, but we both can throw it. But whatever guys are playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage, that's the team that's probably going to win this football game, and they're very, very good at it. And we've got to keep getting better. So that's a huge matchup for us is can we win the game up front? Can we even compete up front? So we'll see what happens there. And then what are Kirkham's stats, their quarterback? Did he run wild on us? Did he throw it everywhere? Did he make a bunch of plays? Did they have him return on special teams and he gets the ball a couple more times and more touches? Like, what did they do with him, and how did we handle him? If we can keep him in check and not let him go crazy, it's going to give us a chance to be in the football game. But if he goes crazy like you've seen him do, especially last week, we're going to be in big trouble. So winning up front and slowing him down is going to be a big deal for us.
Very good. Well, Coach, hey, I greatly appreciate you being generous with your time here on High School Game Day as part of our LiUNA Laborers Local 663 Team of the Week segment. And good luck at homecoming. And, hey, get a victory, and we may send you a text and say, hey, Coach, join us on the scoreboard show tonight. So, and that's via phone, so you don't have to have a camera or anything. So that
I
works
appreciate that, man. That's good. No one wants to see this face. Ooh.
Hey, I'm sitting here in the dark. My light's not working, but that's all right. We'll figure it out. But Coach, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here to.
The following is a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network.
Certainly glad you tuned in, and as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Well, this is something I've worked on now for about 5 years. An opportunity here to go back and kind of relive January the 18th of 1998 in the Tournament of Champions. And Teddy Dupay and Scott Brakebill are along with head coach for the Bolivar Liberators, Darren Archer. And Teddy, first off, hey, thanks for being part of the show today.
Oh, sure thing. This is cool. I'm glad you guys asked me to jump on.
And Scott Brakebill, you as well, and you are quarantined there, in your pickup right now.
Yep, this is my home for a few weeks, I guess, working out of the truck. But thanks for having me on as well. And always good to rehash some good memories.
Yeah, Coach Archer alongside here, and we're maintaining as much social distancing as we can. But Darren, thanks for coming by today.
You bet, my pleasure.
And Teddy, we were talking a little bit off the air, but going back to that winter of 1998, what are some things that really stand out to you about the Tournament of Champions?
Really impressive, and like I said, this is cool to be talking to you guys so long later. I remember, it was just an unbelievable tournament. They treated us really well. We went to a lot of places to play that year. We were like a circus sideshow, and it's because we were fun to watch. But yeah, we were saying as kids, anytime you had a packed house, that was great. Anytime you had baskets that weren't attached to the ceiling, that was really great. Anytime you had seats with fans on all four sides, now you really thought it was playing big time basketball. So it was a lot of fun. The games were great, high quality basketball, knowledgeable fans. But as we were talking about, some of the things I most remember were the things that didn't happen on the court, and that's kind of the beauty of youth sports. Is building friends, building relationships, learning the life skills that are going to last you forever. So great tournament, but a great experience overall.
And Scott, you would actually play in that facility later as a collegiate player, but going back to that year in 1998, what are some memories that stand out to you?
Well, obviously living in this area, we were very familiar with the Tournament Champions. Most of us got to go to it growing up, and just to hear Bolivar's name be announced to play in that tournament, it was a year-long, build-up and anticipation to be able to step on that floor. We've had some past experiences and success on that floor, getting to play the Blue and Gold tournament every year, and previously winning it the year before. So we had some success on that floor, so we were excited, and obviously to hear what names, what teams from where across the country were going to come. And even just for us to get to see and watch them play was exciting. But to actually step on the court and get to compete and show everybody, our skill level versus theirs was, it was amazing.
And Coach Archer, that we were visiting, you've been here a little while, and just talking about some of the things that stand out to you about that particular Tournament of Champions.
Well, just the quality of tournament and the quality teams that they bring into that tournament, and the first-class job that they do in running the tournament. And it's really neat to see how it's evolved over the years. And I think CBS Sports broadcast some of the games now, and so it was a big thing back then, and it's grown even bigger and better currently.
So as a coach, you're coming in, you've got Teddy Dupay, the leading scorer in the country. Mm-hmm. What are you doing to prepare for Mr. Dupay?
You don't. I told our guys at the beginning of the tournament, and Scott may remember this, I said, hey, this is probably the only time during the season we're going to play as underdogs, so enjoy that moment. And I also said, let's do something to put our name in the record books. And little did I know that after that game, I think there were 8 or 9 records broken in that single game. And now, when I told our guys that, I didn't want the versus Bolivar to be at the end of that record, but quite a few of them were. But it was an awfully fun night.
As you look back, Teddy, to play on that night, you had 52 points, which is still, or 58 points, I'm sorry, which is still the tournament champion single game record, as well as you had 38 points in the game against Hartville, so 129 points in the tournament, which is also still the tournament record. What about that night stands out? You had 13 threes, which is also a single game record. What that had to be exciting.
Yeah, well, if I remember, wasn't the old record before that game? Didn't we both break it? Didn't Scott and I both break it that night?
You did.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty neat, I think.
Yeah, I can remember you guys maybe meeting at half court, shaking hands, and I was sitting next to a guy named Dwayne Banner, and I said, "There's 100 points at mid court right there, just between the two of you." What was it like during the game? Did you have much interaction?
Yes and no. I think we were. It's kind of hard to explain. Scott will understand. Rarely, when you're a guy like us, do you really run into somebody who's willing to step up and fight back? Like, everybody's motivated at the beginning, but then once you start doing what you're doing, it doesn't take an opponent very long to realize they're overmatched, if that makes sense at all. You take somebody's will to fight. I can count them in my head, how many times we've run into somebody who was equally as good on the other end. And gosh, one time I think of a guy, Mateen Cleaves, when they beat us in the national championship game. I knew he was good. I knew he was strong. But then once we got out there and you really saw how people respond to him, how much command he had, how much respect he had from his coach, you knew you were in for a big fight. And he would tell you the same. You remember those people who really earn your respect, because of their quality. And I think that's something that sticks out in the game. The other thing is that, guys fouled me on every single shot. Refs were not giving us the calls.
Do you remember that? Is that the case, Scott, where you guys fouling them on every shot?
Oh, absolutely. And luckily for me, we like you asked about if we had any interactions on the court. Luckily, I didn't have to guard him. I was a big guy, so I think we threw everybody else, including the water boy, out there trying to guard him, and we double teaming him, and we still couldn't stop him. I think it was I don't even know who it was, but I think we poked him in the eye once, and he still made it from half court. And, someone hit him in the stomach, and he still made it. It just continuously throughout the game. Once he started going, it was obvious that there wasn't much that was going to stop him.
Scott, you're absolutely right. I finally gave up and tried to double team him and put Andy Ruth and Michael Katrash on him. And if you guys remember, the old coaching boxes were right there at the end of the bench. And Teddy, we were double teaming you, and you pulled up. I swear I could have reached out and touched you. You pulled up. One of my kids hit you in the stomach. The other one poked you in the eye, and you still hit the three. And they both looked at me, and I just shrugged my shoulders. I said, "Guys, I don't know what to tell you."
Oh.
Well, I got to tell you, I still play every day. I'm still working, trying to get better. Got to improve my shot and my skills, because the old body, it slows down a little when you get old.
Well, and Scott, and a question for both of you. We'll start with Scott. Talk about some of the teammates that you had back then, and their experience and what it was like to be able to enjoy that atmosphere. Even though that was a 5th place game, it was a tremendous atmosphere. But that just the guys that you shared that atmosphere with.
It was, and really, for us, we were all kids that grew up together for the most part. So we've been playing together for years, and to get to step onto the court, and we knew it was going to be our last game at the tournament champions. We wanted to, like Coach said, we wanted to put our stamp at the tournament champions as a local team that stood up to this competition, and little did we know what we were actually getting into. We knew that they were going to shoot the ball as quick as they could. So we said, all right, we're going to fight back. We're going to go right back at them. And no matter how many shots they made on the other end, we went just as fast, pushing it back to the other end, and nobody backed down. I mean, from Coach mentioned, Andy and Mike were the younger starters on the team, and then other seniors, Jason Smith, who was an all-tournament team selection that year as well, who I think he was just short of 30 points in that game, and people really mentioned his name, but he was on fire as well, making plenty of shots. And then of course my best friend since day one was John Hacker, and he was the guy who we kind of came out there and assigned him to Teddy, I think, off the start, because he was a physical guard. He was big, strong, quick enough, and I think Teddy got him in 2 quick fouls, if I'm not correct there, Coach. But that's when we had to kind of shift our game plan. When John got a couple fouls and pushed some other guys over, and then we just continuously kept moving across the board. But again, another stat that I think that people forget about that game was, I think Oliver still holds the assist record in the tournament champions. Is that right, Guy?
Yeah. That's right.
Yep. Yeah, so that says a lot to our team and how unselfish these guys were and motivated, and the way we moved the ball. Obviously, it ended up in my hands quite a bit. I don't know, either because I wasn't being guarded, or just the guys knew that I was getting hot as well, and just fight back. But yeah, it was. I mean, it's a memory that passes down to my kids now, and I'm very proud and honored to be mentioned every year when this tournament comes around. What is it, 22 years ago? And I think when people ask me how many points I scored, I think it's up to like 80 now. So by the time I'm 80 years old, I think I probably would have scored about 85, and Teddy probably would have scored 100 if memory serves me correctly.
Well, Teddy, you had some standout members of your team. Noah West, who did not play in the Friday night game against Hartville, which helped put you in the 5th place game there, and then Ernest Grant, who was also on that team. But it had to be a tremendous experience with them as well.
Oh, yeah, we had a really cool group of guys. It's funny, at our school all 4 years, my freshman year and sophomore year, we had 8 Division I players on the squad. And then my junior and senior year, all the big guys were gone, and, it was me, Ernest, and Noel primarily. Noel, who was just incredible. He doesn't play on Friday night, 7-day Adventist, and that hurt us throughout the season. I think we lost 5 games, and I want to say 5 of them were on Friday nights. So he's very important to our squad. Ernest, obviously, best athlete I've ever been around. Nobody like him, and the best man. He, when I went to Florida, I wore 24 in high school. When I went to Florida, there was a guy with 24. So I was first going to try and talk him into giving it to me, but then I changed my mind, and I wore number 5 all my times at Florida. And then even in the pros, I wore number 5 in honor of Ernest. That was his number. So, he was my best friend. We were dorm mates in college, and very, very close. I talked to him yesterday. So, yeah, I mean, when you're playing, it's cool about high school. You're playing with friends, and then you're going to spend all that time off the court. All the things that make a team good, you automatically do that when you're in high school. But, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and we as a team, we were ultra small, so we played, try to play very aggressive in the passing lanes, really push up. We knew in a half-court setting, even if we stopped somebody, we weren't probably going to get the rebound anyway. So we, just kind of calculated if we can go out, really pressure the ball, see if we can get people dribbling up the sideline, get them in a speed dribble. If we could force turnovers, it was worth taking that risk because we could convert it on the other end in transition, and so we'd give up buckets. But I think when a team was willing to pass the ball, which a lot of young point guards are not, we pressure them, they try and dribble through it like they have something to prove, and once we get them in a speed dribble, they're in big trouble. But yeah, when a team's willing to move the ball, pass the ball, and be unselfish, it opens us up to giving up a lot of buckets, especially around the hoop. So, we were just looking for ways to win. That's a lot of fun, but we were small. We were real small.
198 points scored, I believe, that night. So everybody got the ball up and down the floor, and like Coach Archer mentioned that, the 9 or 10 records, single game records broken in that game, not to mention the total points in the tournament, which Teddy set. But when you leave there, you come out of that Tournament of Champions experience, kind of give us an idea of what the rest of each of your seasons were like, and we'll start with Scott.
I'd like to not remember the end of your season. You're talking about it.
I share that thought, Scott.
Yeah, Coach Johnson, it's hard to talk about to this day, but we had an amazing year. We had an amazing career there in Bolivar, really leading up to many more successes and great teams after our success. But we obviously our only losses to throughout the season were during the tournament champions that year up until the very last game of the season, which most of us remember. We lost in the district championship to Nixa. So that's kind of how it ended. It ended bittersweet, but that's still not easy to talk about 22 years later. But it's great to remember the great times that we did have and the amazing team that was on the court from top to bottom.
And Teddy, what was your remaining season like?
That whole year was really cool. Like I said, we traveled a lot. We played in the KMOX in St. Louis, played in Springfield. We played in the City of Palms Classic in Fort Myers, obviously. We played in a Hooters event. We played several just really big marquee events. So the whole year was really fun. After that year, I would go on later in that season to break the all-time Florida scoring record, and that record's still there too. And so that was pretty neat. We went on throughout the season and made a great run deep into the playoffs all the way to the end. But then we ended up losing to Miami Senior High School, who Frank Martin was the coach. He's coach of South Carolina now. They had Udonis Haslam, Wright, Sylvan Robinson, Antonio Latimer, Steve Blake. Basically had 5 NBA players in their starting lineup. But luckily I got 3 of those guys to come with me to Florida on our team that won, SEC championships and went to the Final Four and stuff like that. And that's how we ended that season, number 2. And the same thing we did a few years before against Vince Carter and the crew. We were ranked 6th in the country. We lost in a state championship to Daytona Beach Mainland. So, then we finished 2nd when I was in college. We lost in a national championship game to Michigan State. So, if you listen to my dad, he'll tell you I'm the best loser in the country.
Well, did you guys have an opportunity, after that historic night, back in '98? Did you ever have another opportunity to meet, or did you kind of follow each other's careers a little bit? Because I know, Scott, you had an opportunity to play in the Sweet 16, and Teddy, you were talking about your postseason at the college level. Did you guys maybe pay attention a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah. I still recall to this day when we did meet after the game or during the all-tournament team announcements. Teddy was like, "Hey, I'll see you in the NCAA tournament," because we kind of both knew at that time we both had an opportunity to be there, and we did. Little did we know, a year later we were able to play in the big stage at Missouri State and get to the tournament and play against Wisconsin, Tennessee, and then Duke in the Sweet 16. And then I think it was the year after the year beyond that is whenever Teddy would get to the championship game at Florida. Yeah, definitely followed him just as close as any other players. That it's just kind of the thing that you do after you play against someone is gonna shine on the big stage. It's neat to turn around and watch them and see how they do. And then again, 20 years later, I've got 2 boys that are asking me, "Hey, who'd you play against? Anybody in the NBA?" And then that list goes down. And Teddy's name's always on there as well because that's a big name down here and across the country that people will always reflect back on, especially during these times when we don't have an NCAA tournament. It's a great time to reflect and look back on those games and relive them.
Teddy, same question there. Did you have an opportunity there maybe to kind of follow along a little bit? I know you were busy as well.
Oh yeah. You always follow the guys you play against, and like Scott said, when you get good enough, and that's always the key. People ask me, "What's the key to getting a scholarship?" It's be good enough. those guys get paid millions of dollars to find the best players. It's not about exposure and that kind of stuff. If you're good enough, they're going to find you. But when you play against guys that earn your respect, you'll see them later. And, you always want the guys you play against to do well. It's kind of like if you're rooting for XYZ team and they lose in the Sweet 16, you kind of want that team that beat you to go all the way. It makes you feel like you lost to a winner. It gives it a little, makes you feel better about yourself. And then obviously we've been able to jump on the calls here, a handful of times over, 20 years. But yeah, during the Bass Pro out there, we've had these calls, and when you look back on it, it's a little easier to talk about yourself now that it was just so long ago. When you're coming up, you always want to be humble and you want to deflect. But when you look back on what we did, people are still talking about it. Those records are there, and at the end of the day, you brought a lot of happiness and joy to people by playing the game of basketball, and to have person way out there talking to their kids about me way over here, down here is I'll tell you, it's pretty flattering and pretty neat. It's really, really cool.
Well, it's still the game that we've talked about around this area and the tournament champions more than any other. And Coach Archer, maybe the only time in the history of basketball that a coach walks off to a standing ovation after giving up 103 points.
Yes. Yeah, that was the most amazing thing was there were two teams out there just battling everything they had, especially after playing two previous nights and pretty contested games. But to walk off that floor after the game to a standing ovation in a fifth place game was pretty amazing. And Teddy, I've got a question for you, just for the record, and for my own personal well-being. Didn't you score over 60 points like a week or two after you hit 58 on us?
Oh yeah, I hit. We all the time really. I had 70 in one of the playoff games. We had games. I remember the first game of the year. I had the first 7 plays of the second half, 7 for 7, 7 threes, and I had 55 points with 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. And coach pulled me out. He's like, "It's a long season." So, he was not, leave me in at all costs. I averaged 42 for the season, but there were a lot of games where I didn't play the fourth quarter and we were beating teams bad, and he'd take me out. So, our offense was designed to let it fly.
Yeah.
And, so, we put the time in, we put the work in, and practiced as much or more as anybody possibly could. There's only so much time in the day, and I took a lot of pride in that. But with that said, I see 100% of the coaches now, even with people doing it in the league, they really limit what kids can do. And our coach was pretty open to, the best shot we could get is one that I took, and that was a good offensive plan. We slow it down and we start running plays, double teams and triple teams actually become, a real deterrent to shoot. There's better shots. But if you're in transition most of the time, and even if 2 or 3 guys are guarding you and they're backing up, or they're forced to pick you up at half court, that gives me a lot more room to maneuver around them and get to my spots. So, by just playing the style of play that was beneficial for us. And then 3 years later, he had a good exchange student, a couple 6'8" guys, pretty good heady guards that couldn't shoot. And they still played fast. They still pushed the ball. But he was able to adjust his coaching style for the pieces that he had. And the pieces he had with me were to let us loose, and I really am thankful for that. Because I don't think I'm so small that had he not done that, and in that humble and open as a coach, who knows if I would have got the looks? Because when you look at me, you wouldn't think, hey, let's give this guy a chance for at the next level. He had to let me show my stuff, and so that is something that I do not overlook, and I didn't then either, and it's really changed my life.
So, Coach, what I take from that answer, just to clarify, is we held just a hair over his average, so that's pretty good defense in that.
After all these years, I can finally rest easy at night.
Wow. Hey,
Let me ask you guys this. Do you have I know this seems crazy. Is there a video of that game?
There is, and I'm trying to track it down. There's a couple players that I think may have it. I'm still trying to get in contact with them, and hopefully we can get that back out and get you a copy of it.
That's how long ago it was. I got a lot of games like that. We played Compton Dominguez. They were number one. They had Tayshaun Prince, Tyson Chandler, Kenny Bruner, Jason Thomas. I want to say Trevor Ariza was young and on the bench. Didn't play. They were number one in America. I think we played them. We lost by 1 point in the city of Palms, and nobody has the darn game on film. And that's how ancient stuff is. Crazy.
I will do my best to track it down for you.
Let's get that baby on YouTube. Let's get some views.
You bet. That's right.
Well, gentlemen, I certainly appreciate you guys all of you being generous with your time. This was, it's 25 minutes long, and I could have went 2 hours, but it's fun to look back on, and I really appreciate you guys being generous with your time and allowing me to kind of break into your daily routine. Although people probably aren't doing much right now, but I appreciate it.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Guy, for putting this together.
Hey, you bet. Coach Archer, thanks as well.
You bet. Thank you.
You bet. We're going to step away, take a quick time out.
This has been a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network. Thank you for tuning in.